one of the things that we talk a lot about is creating an environment where you can find your square squads, where you can find where you really belong, and that you share some sort of common purpose, but aren't so similar that it's like, oh yeah, that's great. Oh yeah, we're like, it's different yet the same yet different. Welcome to Purposeful Podcasting. I'm Wendy.
And I'm Krystal. This podcast is meant to share how we and other entrepreneurs bring together purpose and passion to leverage profit in our businesses.
We are shining a light on adventure-loving, purpose-driven, action-minded, authentic, and rebellious entrepreneurs.
Just like us.
So join us as we talk about business and life and everything in between. Hey there, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Purposeful Podcasting. We are your serendipitous rebel duo. Hi, I'm Wendy, and I'm here with
Krystal.
Yay! And I'm very excited to be having today's conversation. It is about square squads. And this is something back, you know what? It's like, I think it was actually last fall. Wow, almost a year ago. I did Dare to Lead training. Dare to Lead is actually a publication, a product of Brene Brown. And this whole conversation about square squads has been coming up more and more and more in our daily lives. Krystal, what do you think about this square squad stuff?
I know that if you guys have listened to some of our past episodes, we have mentioned the square squad multiple times, and we allude to the square squad multiple times. And like Wendy said, when we work with our private clients one-on-one, we evoke the square squad rule a lot in talking to our clients. So I think it helps to start with, it's something we use a ton in our world. I have my square squad written down. My husband actually wrote down his square squad on a little Post-it note after listening to our marathon podcast a couple weeks ago. So I think it starts with, what is the definition of a square squad?
Actually, I completely agree. And according to Brene Brown, her definition is whose opinion matters in your life. And I actually jotted down exactly what she said. Who pushes you to be better? Who cares about you? Who gives you honest feedback? You use the square squad, or you enact the square squad when you receive feedback that confuses you or hurts your feelings. We've been talking about this a whole lot lately. I look at it that this is like such an important thing, because we all need that, the group, the posse, the kitchen table or kitchen cabinet, whatever it is, of people who give us feedback. It's interesting because what this is really wrapped in is, when we look at Brene Brown, in trust and vulnerability. She talks about we all need to trust to be vulnerable, and we need to be vulnerable in order to build trust. And who are those people who you can wrap your hands around that fit on a 1 inch by 1 inch little square?
Yeah, and it's important, because when you are an entrepreneur, I think that we work in a arena, evoking some more Brene Brown imagery, that is not well understood by outsiders. So even my corporate working husband doesn't always quite understand what it is that we do, what it is that we need to do, and how it is that we do it. I love what you said about vulnerability and trust, because part of being an online entrepreneur, and we talk mostly to other consultants, coaches, service providers, and that is the space and the arena that we work a lot in. And those are the people that we work with our private clients, with people that go through our podcast boot camp. So much of being a brand in that arena means leaning on a lot of vulnerability in your branding. And it's really hard to open yourself up and put yourself out there, because you're opening yourself up to criticism, whether it's on social media, about your appearance, about the way you look, about what it is that you're doing, what it is that you say. And what we tell people all the time when they're worried about putting their message or their content out there is, are those people on your square squad? And if the answer is no, then we have to learn how to move on from those opinions. What would you add to that, Wendy?
A couple things with this. We all struggle when we are negatively judged. And I think that entrepreneurs we really put ourselves out there, that we are judged even more. It's interesting because my husband, like your husband, they both served in the military. And when I said to my husband, I want to be an entrepreneur, he looked at me and said, that's the scariest thing I've ever heard. And I said, wait a second, you've been in combat. He says, no. Being an entrepreneur in the unknown, really the unknown, is the scariest thing. And I can tell you, he's actually not on my business square squad. One of the things that I love that we've been really digging into lately is we talk about hats that we wear, and when that we have different hats. And what I've really thought about is I also have different square squads for my different hats, which I love. I love. And some people cross over into different categories, but some people don't. I think it's really, if you can take a step back and really see where people fit in and that work best, that help you create the synergy and help you be a better person, and that you in turn help them be a better person at whatever hat you're wearing. I think this is a really, really powerful tool. Just to throw this out as well, is we've been talking about the fact that you could have your square squad at different times and that it can change. Who you had 10 years ago, 20 years ago, we were talking about college experience. While some of those people are still in my life, they don't necessarily play the same role that the grown-up Wendy needs or has.
I think that's important to remember, because I think it allows you to reflect and really be intentional about who's taking up space in your head. Who are you letting take up space in your head? Because you're right, when we do put ourselves out there, it's so hard to do things like record a podcast and put it out there. It's hard to record a TikTok video and put it out there, or share whatever I'm wanting to think, whatever stream of consciousness I have going on Threads, which is super fun right now. And if you're not on there, you should follow Wendy and I, because there's lots of stream of consciousness going on. But it's vulnerable. It's vulnerable. It's leaning into vulnerability is what it is when we put ourselves out there to do any of those things, to promote our brand, to establish our authority in any of those spaces, which you have to do if you're going to be an effective marketer in the online business, unless you want to get clientele in some other way. I think that if you're wanting to do those things, a lot of us have stories that we need to tell that help share what we know, help share what we believe, help share how we do things in this world. And we hold ourselves back from sharing those stories because we're worried about the judgment of other people. The Square Squad is a great way to kind of put things in check and remember, what would my Square Squad think? Do they think I should share this? Do they think you have a look like you're processing that?
And I am. And I want you have to finish your sentence. That was not meant for me to interrupt you.
No, it was. Sometimes Wendy gets this look on her face, you guys, that is like so like deeply thought. Like you can just tell she's like in it. Like she's got something really good. And like sometimes I want to jump just straight to that thought, but I'll go ahead and finish my thought. When we're looking to share those things and you're wondering like, what are people going to think is stupid? I think it comes down to, like Wendy said, who's on the Square Squad and what is it? What's the intention and the purpose behind what it is that you're doing?
Two things. One is I look at it from a slightly different angle. I look at it because I'm not the marketer, but I think how I look at it is from like a thought leader. I think it's coming and from either perspective. I think it's coming at it from the side of curiosity. So what are people thinking? Is that valid? Is that relevant? Actually, not valid, because what people say in their own minds, usually they think it's valid. But is it relevant?
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible to have a conversation about it? Sometimes it's not, and people just judge, and then you just poof, make them go away. The other thing is, I like to think of the Square Squad, not only in terms, I mean, she talks about when feedback confuses you, or when, you receive feedback that hurts your feelings. Why not proactively use the Square Squad? You're thinking of sending out a message and you're just not sure how it's going to land. Why not float it by people who will give you their honest opinion? If you work in corporate America or work, for the government or wherever you work, usually you have staff, whether it's support staff above you or support staff around you, can run things by them to help you make decisions. And one of the hardest things, I think, for entrepreneurs is that some of us live in silos. I mean, we don't. And I can say the beauty, I think, of working with Krystal is she'll give me her honest opinion. And I respect that. Like, she'll be like, you are a crazy, crazy woman.
Yes.
Or
it's high on my strengths. It's high on my strength list, was honesty.
Yeah. I think it's so important to have that. We need this Square Squad for ourselves. And I would actually love to know, anyone who's listening, especially entrepreneurs, do you have that Square Squad? And the beauty of it is it's 1 inch by 1 inch. So it's even smaller than the littlest Post-it. And someone had said that they could put 8 names on it. I can't. I write too big. But I can, put 5 names of people. Do you really need more than that?
No.
Do you need to? Yeah.
There is such thing as too many cooks in the kitchen, for sure.
Yeah. So I would love to know who out there has this squad of people. One of the things that we talk a lot about is creating an environment where you can find your Square Squads, where you can find where you really belong, and that you share some sort of common purpose, but aren't so similar that it's like, oh yeah, that's great. Oh yeah, we're like, it's different yet the same yet different. Does that make sense?
And so that's the big difference. So let's talk about that for a second, because Square Squad is not your cheer squad. Okay.
Oh, yes, exactly.
Your Square Squad, you read that definition again, because it was people that will challenge you, people that will
push you to be better, care about you, and give you honest feedback.
It's kind of like the definition of a coach, honestly. It's like,
yeah, very much so.
Somebody that's going to hold you accountable. And it's one of the things I love most about our relationship is that I like Wendy, like I can do for Wendy, I can go to Wendy and Wendy will give me her honest feedback of, I don't like that, or I think we could do this better. When I run things by her, it makes the product better because she's going to push it. She's going to challenge it. She is going to question it. And you need people like that in the world because, like Wendy said, a lot of us work as solopreneurs. Okay. We work home alone. We only have our eyes on our stuff. You need the squad behind you to look over that sales page, to talk through this offer. Let me tell you about this pricing. I'm thinking about, what do you think? You need those people in your world that are going to give you that honest feedback of, yes, I like this. No, I don't. This is why, because that's what's going to make you a better entrepreneur. Honestly, that's what's going to make you a more profitable entrepreneur. It's important to have those people in your world. And they need to be people who are smarter than you, who are maybe a little bit further ahead in the journey than you are. And they don't always have to be smarter than you. I think I misspoke there, but I think it's people who are constantly working to be better like you are.
Yes. Yes. It involves getting together with a group of like purpose people. And I definitely think there's no question. I think about the coaches that I've worked with that have been really good for me. And actually, they pushed me to be better.
Mm-hmm.
And I also look at the female entrepreneurs who we hang out with now.
Mm-hmm.
There's no question they push me to be better. I really think this is so important that you have to have this square squad, this group.
And I think that if there was any indication that this is needed more than any before, guys, there's a reason, guys, that there are a million mastermind opportunities that are popping up all over the place, and co-working opportunities and things like that, because we also desperately are needing it. I think what we are trying to ask you to do, in addition to going to find it, is to be really discerning on who's in your square squad, and really know at the end of the day whose opinion matters and why does it matter, because that's going to be the thing that, when it comes up in context of with our clients, it's, I'm really scared to do this. I'm really scared to share this. What will people think? And it's really a matter of, okay, are they on your square squad?
Exactly.
How can we let go of those things? Exactly. And are they the people that are going to be pushing you to get better, who are going to challenge it a little bit and aren't just, like Wendy said, yes people?
Yeah. And also sometimes the people who are closest to us may not really have any understanding at all about what am I doing or how am I going to achieve this. My husband is he's my closest confidant. He is someone who's involved in just about every decision I make, with the exception of Serendipitous Rebel. He doesn't really that's not his forte. Mm-hmm. And while he can give me advice, it doesn't always hit the mark. And he can give me like honest advice if I'm looking for a male opinion about. So I think what I'm trying to say is that it's also important that when you're asking for help, when you're sending up that red flare, that you're sending it to people whose opinions you really value and are relevant to what you're talking about or what you need help with. I love Great Aunt Sally, who never married and never had kids, yet she can happily give me opinions on marriage and kids. But are those opinions really relevant? No. So I'm saying that applies to being an entrepreneur as well. And I think that it's also possible to send up flares in various groups online, on Instagram, on social media, that says, hey, I could use the opinion or the help from fellow entrepreneurs. There are ways to get that help, in addition to coaching and masterminding, which are two subjects that we, of course, love, but it's not always the option for everybody.
That's a really good point, because like don't take financial advice from a broke person.
Unless you plan on keeping all your money under your mattress, that's probably not the best person exactly.
And I also like what you said earlier about having different squares for different areas of your life and understanding where the crossover is. Because I think if we're going to be vulnerable and we're going to share our stories or share things, I think it's really understanding and knowing the appropriate audience for those things. Like you had just said, maybe you talk to your husband about everything except for maybe this. I definitely have that Chinese wall in our marriage as well. But I think that, likewise, there's some personal things that maybe I wouldn't share with like our group of entrepreneurs. I mean, you kind of are one of those rare crossovers into like, you hear me verbal vomit about everything, but it's again, just knowing the difference.
Exactly. And just always, I think, keeping a perspective. There's another quote, a Brene quote, that I think is really relevant, that when we stop caring about what people think, we lose our capacity for connection. But when we are defined by what people think, we lose the courage to be vulnerable. I think it's just so important to realize that having a square squad and knowing what people think is really, we're wired to connect. Yet at the same time, we have to be able to have the right people and be able to feel comfortable and allow ourselves to be vulnerable around them and accept what they're saying. That can be challenging at times, but I think ultimately it's well worth it.
I agree.
I think what we would really love is to know what you all think.
Homework, wherever you're doing today, actually write down who's on your square squad. Write it down.
Yes.
And I keep it on a Post-it note on my computer for work. Like, whose opinion matters here? Who do I care likes this or doesn't like this? Keep that in, like Wendy said, in perspective always.
Yeah. So thank you very much for joining us. And we look forward to our next episode next week.
Yay.
Yes.
Bye.
See you later. Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe and leave us a rating.
But only if you liked it. Otherwise, just keep it to yourself.
You can learn more about purposeful podcasting on our website at serendipitousrebel.com.
And if you have topics you'd like to hear about, be sure to submit them on our website or DM us on social media.